Started now. Thank you all for attending today's webinar called Cooking with MSUD, Delicious Cooking Demonstrations and Holiday Ideas. Thanks to our sponsors, Ajinomoto Cambrook and Zoe Pharma, a Pentech company, for their generous support for this webinar series. We really appreciate your support for the MSUD community. Tonight, we have a presentation and cooking demonstration from Ajinomoto Cambrook, followed by a Q&A session about the holiday recipes that they present. Then we'll have a video from Zoe Pharma, a Pentech company, about a couple of low-protein meal options for you and your family to enjoy. This segment will be followed by a question and answer session led by our facilitator, Sandy Balcher. If you'd like to ask a question during those Q&A sessions, the question and answer sessions, feel free to write the questions in the chat box, or at that time, you'll be able to unmute yourself to ask a question as well. And we're recording the webinar and it will be available on our website. That's www.msud-support.org. And as a housekeeping reminder, please remember to mute yourself during the presentations in case we hear some of your background noise. Before we begin the webinar, we'd like to remind you that as we embrace the season of giving, we invite you to consider making a donation to the MSUD Family Support Group. Even a small gesture like skipping a cup of coffee or going out to lunch can make a big difference for us here. Your donation supports families and advocates for access to medical nutrition and helps us to continue providing educational programs like this webinar we're here today for. Your gift can also honor someone special or be a tribute to a loved one in the MSUD community. It's just something to think about during the season of giving. Together, we can make a big difference and a huge, meaningful difference for those navigating life with MSUD. On behalf of the board, staff, and volunteers at the MSUD Family Support Group, we hope that you enjoy this webinar. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Sandy, our facilitator tonight. Many of you might know Sandy and recognize her. Sandy Balcher has been an MSUD ambassador, volunteering and supporting the community for many years. We appreciate having her serve as our facilitator tonight. She currently serves as the board president of the MSUD Family Support Group and lives in Ohio with an adult son with MSUD. Sandy, can you please introduce the speakers and begin our program tonight?
Yes, absolutely. The first speaker is Bridget Tomich. She has been a registered dietitian for 17 years, originally based in St. Louis, Missouri. She worked with inborn errors of metabolism for 4 years before moving to Ajinomoto Cambrook in 2019 as a clinical specialist focusing on metabolic nutrition. She's also the mom of 2 young children and recognizes the need for easy, convenient meal options to feed the whole family. Welcome, Bridget, and thank you for participating. I think we probably just have a little technical things to
Are you going to introduce everyone, or
go ahead? Yeah, I think I'll go. I can introduce Lynn next after you. Okay, go ahead.
Switching to the kitchen. Can everyone see and hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So Lynn and I are going to kind of walk through how to work with our sugar cookie mix tonight. This is something that is great for the time, and you can make a lot of great options for the holidays. So I have started with 1/4 of the bag, which ends up being roughly a cup or 170 grams of mix, 4.5 tablespoons of butter, and a teaspoon of water. I like to take the soft butter and start kind of working that in with the dough. I've kind of already started doing that. You want it nice and soft. And you'll kind of notice that it's crumbly once you've worked that in, kind of like you would a pie crust. And so it should look very crumbly. And then it's a very small amount of water that you're adding, just a teaspoon. So I've measured that out. I'm gonna mix that up. Doesn't take much. And then I'm gonna form a ball. Lynn, do you want to talk about how you developed this and why you switched it into a powder option?
Actually, Lynn, how about if I go ahead and introduce you? How about if I do that?
I
Well,
thought
she's
we were-
fixing it up. That's great.
Sure.
All right. For those of you that don't know Lynn, she's been around the metabolic world for quite a while. She's co-founder of Ajinomoto Cambrook and represents the heart and soul of Cambrook's mission. Originally, she was inspired to feed her 2 children who have PKU. Lynn's passion for feeding others keeps her at the forefront of food science and processing technology. A recognized leader in the PKU community, Lynn serves as a support group liaison to both the families and the clinicians that serve them throughout the U.S. and abroad. Her efforts on a national and international level keep her connected to leading researchers and healthcare providers in the rare disease community. Thanks, Lynn, also for participating.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Sandy. I'll let you tell us, Bridget, where you're at right now.
Okay, so now I have a nice form ball. And we're gonna make this is 1/4 of it. We're gonna make this a couple of ways. So if any of you have made this, Lynn will say the key is really, and you know what, I'm gonna take a piece.
See, it could be sticky, the dough. So
Yeah.
the way I like to do this is to roll it out between parchment, 2 sheets of parchment paper or wax paper. That's fine too. You can roll it out. It just makes it so much easier.
Is it Carson?
It's not.
Are you registered? If you register this as Carson,
Presume. Probably, because from Zoom, I was a Carson, remember? Oh,
So this is key, right, Lynn, is to roll it about 1/4 of an inch.
About 1/4 of an inch. Yep.
And this would be if you want to make cutouts. I have Mickey Mouse tonight and a unicorn. And so you could go ahead and press this in. You don't have to have cookie cutters. You could do a circle. You could do whatever. You could also do drop cookies, but sometimes people have a hard time with these ones. So you would press in your dough and see that we've got 2 Mickey Mouse and 2 little unicorns. And then this would go in the fridge and with the cookie sheet for what, 10 minutes, Lynn?
Yes. So what I'm going to say here is typically, in sugar cookie recipes, standard recipes, you roll your dough out and you have it into a ball. And then you put it in the refrigerator, for 30 minutes or whatever, and then you roll it out. But then you're rolling out a hard dough, a ball of dough. I prefer to roll it out when it's soft in between the parchment paper. And then you can do your cutouts then and just put it in the refrigerator for maybe about 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And it gets really firm. The oven is already heated. And when you pull the shapes, it just pulls out so easily and you can stick it right into the oven.
You can see how much firmer this is. It's pretty hard. And then
You fast forwarded that.
pull your pieces away. And you can see very nice and firm. I like it a little thicker. And then you would just, you can save your dough and do something else with it. You would throw these in the oven on that cold sheet on the parchment paper. And so I've got ones cooling that I've made earlier that turned out great. I do about 7.5 minutes in my oven. So what if you want to do something unique? And that's some of the fun with this dough is you can do a lot with it. You could take little tartlet molds and you could press into here. And this I do with the warm. I don't use anything on there. I just kind of press. And then you would bake again for 7 to 9 minutes. If you don't have tartlet molds, you could simply use this muffin tin. And I like to kind of just press. You could use anything to kind of push that down and then make it into a cookie cup. So I kind of just shape that. I didn't quite get enough dough for this one. But I like to kind of work that up on the sides and press. And so again, baking 7 to 9 minutes. They kind of look like that. Maybe you work that up a little bit more and then they come out like this. And they're really good.
Awesome little tartlets.
And you can easily take some, whatever you want. I've got whipped cream tonight. And just top with fruit. You could also roll them in cinnamon sugar. You could freeze the dough. You could do all sorts of things. So just wanted to show you how easy this is to work. And so it looks like that. It's really, really good with fruit. And then as far as freezing, Lynn, do you like to freeze yours on a cookie sheet first? Or how do you normally freeze yours? I have a bag of all my frozen and I just pulled them out and thawed them.
Yes, you can do it on a cookie sheet. You can do an extra large Ziploc bag, put them in a single layer, put them in the freezer. They'll store in the freezer, honestly, for almost up to a year if they last a long time. There's so many different things you can
Yep.
do. You can roll the dough out into a snake and then cut little slices. You can make sandwich cookies. There's just, you know what I say? Go to the internet. Get a cookbook or anything, whatever you can do with sugar cookie mix, whatever they're doing out there, like on the internet with sugar cookies, you can do with this mix.
And here's what it looks like as the tartlet.
Look at how
Just a
cute.
little prettier, but look how cute that is. So just lots you can do with this dough. And work through it. So that is our little demo, and then these are our little cutouts.
Very
Bridget,
good.
can you show us what the mix looks like of put it in your camera so we can see it? Okay.
So this is the sugar cookie mix. It is a 1.5 pound bag. And so a fourth of a bag makes about, I'd say, depending on what it is, anywhere from like 10 to 15 cookies. So yeah, you have to put in a little bit of work, but you can get quite a few cookies out of one bag and they freeze very, very well. Just pull them out and let them thaw and enjoy.
Very good. That's awesome, Bridget.
Okay, I will turn it over to Lynn.
And one last thing I'm going to say about this is I'm going to work on this hopefully this year. But this is one sugar cookie mix, and the ratio, so it's the powdered mix. You mix it with butter and just a tad of water. But so you have a proper ratio to make these sugar cookies. However, what I'm going to work on is the same mix. You mix it with a different ratio of water or liquid, could be non-dairy milk too, and butter, and you can make a cake out of the same exact mix. So I'm going to work on that this year.
Yeah, and Lynn, you bring up a good point. Baking is very precise. So I really do like to weigh the sugar cookie mix to get the best results. So if they're not coming out, consider weighing your ingredients on a gram scale.
And I see Karen has her hand raised.
It's actually Hannah using Karen's computer, but I'm sorry. I jumped in a little late. So if you said this already, I apologize. But how long does the powder itself last for? Does the mix itself last for?
It's good for a year, and that is typically, and that is on the back of the bag. So I just got mine, and it's I got mine a couple months ago. It's good till May 24th, 2025.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, well, if there's any more questions, I look forward to answering those, and I will turn it over to Lynn.
Okay. I think, Susan, you're going to get up the slides. There we go. So what I want to say is that my PKU and metabolic journey that would begin with my most important role and title, and that's mom, began in 1992 when Cameron was born. Brooke came into the world 5 years later in 1997, and they both have classical PKU. Their older brother, Bryce, showed up on the scene before them in 1990, and he does not have PKU. From the time of my children's diagnosis, our family was launched into the world of PKU and metabolic disorders. With all the uncertainties, the ups and downs of that, I have to tell you one thing. We are most thankful to be part of an amazing and supportive global metabolic community. Next slide. So, food has this amazing way of expressing love, whether it's the comfort of a home-cooked meal or the attention behind a carefully crafted dish. Food is like a universal language that connects us and often creates memories and joy. So, how does that work for kids and adults on a low-protein diet? And my advice, start early. Learning how to prepare your or their own meals gives an individual more control over their health and independence. In addition, learning to cook opens the doors to so many creative possibilities. Many of Cambrook's low-protein foods and mainstream ingredients can be combined in various ways to create tasty and nutritious meals. So, for example, and I'm not telling you anything that's new, but cooking with colorful vegetables and fruits that offer a variety of textures and flavors is a wonderful way to enhance the eating experience for someone on a low-protein diet. Since these diets are so limited in protein-rich foods, focusing on vibrant vegetables and exploring international flavors and seasonings is huge, and it makes meals feel so much more exciting and diverse when you can dial up some of the flavors and the seasonings. So if you're a beginner and have not had a lot of exposure to cooking great tasting low protein food, don't stress. Get involved in a community cooking class like this. There are many available online. Cambrook has a ton of recipes and cooking videos on our website. Or if you're interested, feel free to reach out to us and let's create another event together. So pictured here in the left frame is an old picture of me cooking with Cameron and Brooke at an early age. They quickly learned then how to scoop and measure and mix and prepare some of their favorite foods. And fast forward to today, both kids are amazing and very adventurous cooks and, of course, eaters. The right frame shows Cameron's and Brooke's older brother, Bryce. He's the one with the beard, assisting a low-protein cooking class just this past June with the California Coalition for PKU and Allied Disorders Organization. Bryce today is the organization's vice president, and he is involved with this advocacy group as his way of giving back to the community and staying close to Cameron and Brooke, even though they live on opposite ends of the country. So Susan, next slide, please. So the holiday season is upon us, and with that comes fancy dinners, parties, potlucks, family gatherings. While sharing a meal with your favorite people can be one of the best joys, anxiety over what to prepare for the individual on a low-protein diet can make things feel, well, a little bit complicated. So if you're going to someone else's home, this is just during the holidays, if you're going to go to someone else's home, I recommend you ask what is being served and try to manage everyone's expectations. For example, if mashed potatoes are on the menu, you might request that they be prepared with a non-dairy milk or at least your portion of it. And if gravy is on the menu, find out how it's being made and prepared. And also be prepared to bring your own homemade gravy or a jar of store-bought gravy. There are plenty of delicious options in the grocery store with 0 grams protein per serving, and they can always be doctored up to enhance the flavor. Ask the individual on diet for their advice on what they'd like to have for the holiday meal. After all, who knows best better than them? Once a menu is planned, whether it's your own or the person who is hosting, discuss the foods ahead of time and ask the individual how they would like to be accommodated. What are their favorite dishes? And of the available menu options, what works best for them, and plan accordingly. So I always say consider making neutral dishes. It's always easier to add an ingredient to a dish than to remove it once it's already been incorporated. So for example, if you have your heart set on that sweet potato dish with dried cranberries, toasted pecans, and bacon crumbles, request or serve the toasted pecans and bacon crumbles in a separate dish on the side. I also say, please don't make apologies or express guilt when the host or the guest provides a special dish to accommodate your diet. Instead, share the gratitude, and I can almost assure you they will equally feel the pride for preparing something special for a loved one. Next slide. So for all of you in attendance tonight, repeat after me. I don't need to make the whole meal. Whenever we are the holiday guests, I always expect to bring a dish or two to help out the host. And this is often reciprocated when my family is hosting and they're coming. So it's always important to make a game plan, make foods you're able to prepare ahead of time, ask for help, figure out what you can make and what you can buy. For the low protein accommodations, consider shareable veggie-based foods that everyone will love. Dishes that are rich in flavor, texture, versatility, so they're enjoyable for everybody, regardless of the dietary needs. So some examples in my family, vegetable dips and spreads, such as hummus made with cauliflower or yuca is an amazing base. Roasted zucchini or eggplant as a base. You can add lemon juice, garlic, olive oil, flavorful seasonings. Think about an avocado dip, perfect for dipping veggies or low-protein crackers and chips. It could be guacamole or some kind of a tasty avocado relish, is what I'm trying to say. There's tons of recipes on the internet, and get acquainted with what's available. Veggie fritters or patties or mini-sized bite ones that are suitable for appetizers. Think of veggie meatballs, a healthy alternative that can be enjoyed by meat eaters and vegetarians alike. Stuffed mushrooms. In all honesty, today, who'd have thought the whole world would be trending toward plant-based foods? You don't have to accommodate your guests for every single dish that is served. If your holiday dinner would not be complete without your grandmother's special sausage stuffing, and I too have one of those, then include it. Don't miss out on your personal favorites, but do make the low protein accommodation. And as a side tip about low protein stuffing, Cameron and Brooke, it's their favorite. I will make a huge stuffing so that I have a lot of leftovers, and I'll use a patty maker or a patty mold, and I'll make up stuffing patties and freeze it for later use. They're awesome. Everyone should have options that they can eat and enjoy while also taking some of the pressure off of you if you're hosting. These tips I'm sharing with you are not just for Thanksgiving, which is now behind us, but for Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and all the year-round festivities. We all know that some big holiday dinners are coming up. The tips can apply throughout the holiday season and are useful for dinner parties and other holiday events and entertaining throughout the year. And at the end of the day, enjoy making some new traditions and have fun. So next slide. So over the years, I've learned to begin planning a family menu and organizing the pantry for those usable ingredients for our meals and shopping early to help cut down on last-minute stress. It saves labor as well as mental energy in the long run. The easiest way I have found to do this is to sit down and write out all my meals that my family enjoys. I put together a master shopping list and I begin shopping, especially for those non-perishable and low-protein ingredients early. Another tip, the list I make this year or in past years, I save them electronically on my computer or my iPhone for the next year so that simple modifications are all that's needed. There are many free holiday meal planners and templates online as well. A question I get asked all the time, what are Cameron's and Brooke's favorite low-protein Cambrooke staples to always have on hand? And I would have to say that first and foremost, a variety of breads are a must. Pasta, hands down, right up there with breads. But rice, they like the fresh filled frozen ravioli and pierogies, or meat alternative mixes for endless recipe dishes. And of course, all the baking mixes, including Mix Quick for pancakes and waffles. I say stock up on mainstream grocery items like gluten-free breadcrumbs and non-dairy milk, veggies, etc. Next slide. So here are some high protein substitute ideas. Because meats, grains, rice, and seafood are typical staples in nearly every household throughout the year, not just during the holiday season, Cambrooke has created numerous low-protein substitutes that not only taste good, but they pack natural ingredients that are nutrient dense and uniquely versatile for nearly hundreds of alternative recipe ideas. But also think about those naturally low in protein products that are readily available in the grocery store that can be prepared on their own, paired, and or combined with Cambrooke's meat alternative mixes. And here are some examples to consider. So mushrooms for all kinds of meat and seafood replacements combined with burger patty mix makes great tasting burgers, meatballs, our ground meat alternative recipe for any recipe that calls for ground beef, such as tacos, burritos, stuffed peppers, and so on. Jackfruit, it's a great substitute for pulled pork. This is available in cans, and I don't know if anybody has used jackfruit before, but I am psyched because it's now available in a dehydrated in a 4-pound bag that has a very favorable shelf life. The manufacturer, just for the record, is Edward and Sons Organic Young Jackfruit, and I purchased this on Amazon for about $23, I think it is. Breaded cauliflower steaks is another thing I like to make. When breaded with chicken patty mix and fried, the cauliflower develops a crispy golden crust on the outside while keeping the inside really tender. I picked on cauliflower, but don't stop there. Apply this to zucchini, broccoli, eggplants, mushrooms, fried green tomatoes, etc. And then also check out the baked clams on the bottom left and the scallops look-alike on the bottom right. The stuffed clams are made with shiitake mushrooms, bottled clam juice that has no protein, veggies, and low-protein bread. And the vegan scallops are made with sliced hearts of palm. Both are made with our seafood patty mix. And don't forget to check out the recipe section on our website for other creative ideas like these. Next slide. Susan? Yep. Next slide, please.
Looks like it moved.
Did it go? Up, yeah, it is. I'm so
I
sorry.
have Cambrooke meat alternative.
That's it. You're there.
Okay.
Okay. So I wanted to share some important tips on how to prepare and work with Cambrooke's patty mixes, because honestly, I know not everyone understands these, but they are so easy to work with, and I just really want to share this with you. So the basic preparation instructions for all of our meat substitutes are to add liquid, which is water or broth, and fat, which could be oil or butter. A natural ingredient inherent in each of these products is known as cassava, also known as yucca or mandioca. The plant or the tuber is a class of root vegetables. They are plants that grow big, edible, bulb-like underground stems or roots, and these tubers pack a lot of nutrients. Anyway, when you add liquid to the mix, the cassava in our mixes, which is hydrophilic, meaning that it's liquid loving, it will create a dough, almost like a Play-Doh like consistency, making the dough very pliable and actually very fun to work with. I like to roll it out and with a shot glass or cookie cutters, similar to what Bridget was doing with the cookie recipe. It just rolls out that simply, and you can use a shot glass or cookie cutters, punch out whatever shapes you desire. I also use a hamburger press to make perfectly sized burgers, or you can simply shape in your hands. You can cook in a well-oiled pan, and what you don't consume now, freeze for later use. Although the patty mixes already contain a nice blend of dried veggies and savory seasonings, you can still add additional shredded vegetables to increase nutrition, yield, and flavor. Versatility and convenience is what our mixes are all about. Each of our mixes can be served on their own as patty or nuggets. They can be used as breadcrumbs or as a breading or a coating for deep frying. They can be used as a binder to hold other vegetables and ingredients together. They can be used as an important ingredient to make your favorite basic ground beef recipe available on the website that can be stored in the refrigerator or the freezer and used as an ingredient. So it's this ground beef recipe, and you can store it in the refrigerator for, I think, up to a week or two. And you can draw from that to make dozens of other recipes for the whole week, such as meatballs, meatloaf, chili, stuffed peppers, etc. They can also be combined with ingredients such as onion or garlic and peppers, low-protein cheese, Mexican seasonings to be used as a filler in awesome taco cups. I have an image of the taco cups on the next slide, but you get the idea. They're so versatile. Anything that you would prepare with a ground beef or chicken or sausage type recipe can be applied to this basic ground beef and the meat patty mix recipes. So next slide, please. So batch cooking. Why batch cooking is super helpful? It provides three things for me. It provides convenience, simplification, and flexibility. So for convenience, entrees in the freezer provide takeout convenience and with the aroma and appeal of freshly made dishes. Knowing dinner is near ready to go simplifies the preparation and promotes household calm and peace. We all need that. And flexibility, having your freezer stocked with some important breakfast bakes, appetizers, entrees, and desserts provides flexibility, meaning you can welcome the holidays with many choices and much less stress. Next slide. You got it. I think you're right there. No, back one. That's it. So dial up the flavor with some awesome finishing touches, seasonings, and sauces. A dash or a splash makes all the difference in every single meal. But I'm going to talk about something I learned a couple of decades ago, and that is compound butter, which is a delicious staple in my refrigerator all the time. And it's easy to make, and it's an easy way to take your cooking up a notch. It is simply butter mixed with a variety of other ingredients that add sweet or savory flavors like honey, herbs, garlic, lemon or orange zest, dried fruit, etc. I've listed some of my favorites for you here. I always have basil garlic butter. Honey orange butter is one that I like to have during the holidays, lemon dill, garlic cilantro. You name it. You can do anything with compound butters. It sounds complicated, but it's really an easy concept and super easy to make. And you start with softened butter and you whip it up with other ingredients. I use a food processor, but you don't have to. So what can you do with compound butter? And what I say is the real question is, what can't you do with compound butter? And here are just a few ways I use it. You can spread it on bread, toast, muffins, bagels, waffles, crackers, etc. You can use it as a flavor enhancer over hot vegetables. Use it as an ingredient in baked goods or in rich sauces. You can stir it into pasta or rice to add delicious flavors. Parchment paper wrapped compound butter tied on either end. So this is like a roll tied on either end with a ribbon or a pretty string is a thoughtful hostess gift. And also the same compound butter concept can be applied to low protein cream cheese. So next slide. Okay, so I was also asked to share some Paolela household favorites. And Italian dinner, hands down, is a classic celebratory meal in my family. Eggplant rollatini, which is on the left, is a favorite, and I make it every Christmas with thinly sliced eggplant that has been breaded with either breadcrumbs or the chicken patty mix and fried until crispy and then rolled around seasoned low protein cream cheese, mozzarella, roasted garlic, and parsley filling. Topped with a simple marinara sauce is how they're finished off, and these can be made ahead and kept frozen. Arancini, these are cheese-filled Italian rice balls, and they too are an Italian favorite, and they're made with our short grain rice. And the chili-filled sandwich cookies, I bake these from scratch with our sugar patty mix. I said patty mix. I meant sugar cookie mix. Sorry. And honestly, these dishes are so normal looking. They look like what everybody else is eating. So, and these are my actual photos, by the way. Next slide. So now I'd like to share how my family typically dines together during the holidays, but this is actually our traditional way of eating meals together every day. Family style eating is how we roll, and it is a type of dining style that is less formal than a plated meal, but more formal than a buffet. So essentially, large serving dishes or platters are brought to the table and can be served from a turntable style tray that kind of turns, or passed around for each person to serve their own plate. Everyone has control of what they add to their plates or what they choose not to have. One of the images I'd like to point out on the top right frame, when I serve spaghetti at my home, when Cameron and Brooke are with us, we all eat the low protein spaghetti. This particular pasta dish with lemon pesto is made with olive oil, lemon, garlic, and toasted low protein or gluten-free seasoned breadcrumbs. The breadcrumbs look a lot like Parmesan cheese, but when incorporated into this dish, it keeps the sauce from draining to the bottom of your dish, which provides amazing flavor throughout the pasta. And then last slide. Oh, there we go. And lastly, I just want to thank you all so much for allowing me to share some of my family's favorites and our traditions with all of you. And I'd like to wish you all happy holidays. And thank you so much to this community for inviting Bridget and me to join you.
Thanks so much, Lynn. Now we have some time for some questions. I apologize. I got a light flashing. My ceiling light's going crazy. So if you see me turn it on off, it's because it's blinking and going crazy. So you can raise your hand. You can just ask a question that way. You can do it through the chat. It looks like Zibia has a question.
Are you able to send a link, please, to the recipes?
We have a handout that we've made with all of the recipes. That'll just be a Word doc, and you can click on all of them. We also have a sugar cookie handout that we just made that will kind of feature what we talked about today. And in case you guys didn't see it, it was on the last slide. If you use the code MSUD20, you can get 20% off low protein foods until December 31st. Coming.
Divya, there will be an email to all the participants with the information from this webinar.
Great, thank you.
And so many recipes exist on our website. We have the recipe section, and if you click on that, it will bring a drop down of all the different products that we make recipes with. So let's just say Mix Quick. If you click on Mix Quick, it'll drop down over 100 recipes that we've created from Mix Quick, and that applies to all of our products. And we also have cooking videos.
Do we have other questions?
One of the questions is, will this be recorded? Yes, this will be recorded and will be on our website under educational videos.
All right, if there's no other questions, we will move on. I'm excited. We have a video that the folks from Proman will be showing a cooking demonstration. So let's get ready to add that to this webinar so we can all view that.
Hello everybody, my name is Carl and I am a recipe developer for Proman Metabolics in the UK. Today I'm going to be talking you through 3 recipes: beef chili con carne, macaroni cheese and sausage pie mix topped with mashed potato. Specifically low protein for people who suffer with PKU and MSUD. Our first recipe today will be a baked low protein macaroni cheese using Proman's low protein macaroni and low protein cheese sauce mix. The first part of this recipe requires 1 pan of boiling water, a litre, which is equivalent to 4 cups in the US. Once the water is on to boil, weigh out 3 ounces of macaroni and then add to the boiling water. Now that the pasta is on to boil, we will begin to make our cheese sauce mix. To make the cheese sauce mix, we weigh out 30 grams of powder and stir in 100 millilitres of water gradually. This would stop the sauce from going lumpy. As you start to whisk, you'll begin to see the mixture become like a paste. As I said, don't pour all the water in straight away, as the mixture will become lumpy. So doing it gradually like this will avoid the lumps and make the sauce a lot smoother when you're adding the macaroni into it. Once the sauce is mixed, as you can see, there's no lumps in the sauce, it's nice and smooth. We're going to be adding 1 teaspoon of garlic puree or garlic granules just to lift the flavour, just gives it that little bit more depth. Then we'll stir this in until it's dissolved. By the time this is mixed, our pasta should be ready to drain. So once the pasta is drained, we can begin to stir it into our sauce mix. This recipe does serve 1, obviously dependent on how many people are having the recipe or having the dish, you can increase your quantities. But as you can see, macaroni stirred in, and we're now ready to put it into an oven-proof dish to bake. Now I've transferred the pasta into the oven-proof dish, I'm going to be topping it with Violife Original Grated Cheese, which is available in the UK. Other alternatives may be available in the US. Just a matter of sprinkling the cheese over the top, and we're also going to be adding some fresh chopped chives as a garnish. So then we're going to transfer this into the oven and bake for 10 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. After 20 minutes, we have a perfect baked macaroni cheese using 2 simple ingredients from Proman. For our next recipe, we will be making a low-protein sausage mix pie topped with mashed potato. You can see I'll be using Proman's original sausage mix, along with mashed potato mix, as well as some fresh ingredients that will help bulk the pie out. To start this recipe, we're going to add all of the vegetables to a frying pan and then gently sweat them off in some oil just so that they start to become soft. Whilst these are cooking, I'll prepare the sausage mix ready to be mixed in along with the other ingredients. As you can see here, the vegetables have started to become soft. They started to sweat, so we're going to stir in 1 teaspoon of garlic puree. Along with 2 teaspoons of oregano. Now that the vegetables have become soft, we're going to be using 1 beef stock cube, which is dissolved in 100 millilitres of water. You're going to pour that on top and just allow it to simmer before we start preparing the sausage mix to go in there. The sausage mix comes in a 30-gram pouch. For this recipe, I would advise using 2. That way you get 2 servings out of the meal. With the 2 pouches, what we're going to do next is stir them into the mixture. What we want to achieve by this is we want to get like a ground beef effect, so that it kind of is like that kind of consistency, so that we can layer it out into our oven-proof dish and then top with the mashed potato. The key to this is to keep stirring, otherwise it will start to clog and go lumpy. So, as I said, if you just keep stirring, making sure that it doesn't form big kind of lumps in there, it'll be absolutely fine. As you can see, it is kind of like that ground consistency that we was talking about. So our next step will be to add gravy granules to give it a bit more substance and a bit more depth. For the next step, I've got 100 millilitres of water, and I'm going to be using a product called Bisto, which is gravy granules or a thickener, which we're just going to mix into the pie. So, in terms of desired consistency, it just needs to be enough to make it blend together. The gravy will continue to thicken as the pie cooks in the oven, so there isn't necessarily a need for a huge amount. So what we're going to do is now stir this into the mixture. So our next step is to just pour this in. I have removed it from the heat just whilst I was making the gravy to stop it from sticking. So now I'm just going to put it back on and stir it so that all the vegetables and the sausage mix is coated evenly. And as I said, at the moment it might look a little bit watery, but it will continue to thicken. So we are going to now transfer this into an oven-proof dish and start preparing our mashed potato. It will be better if we allow this to cool slightly so that the mashed potato doesn't sink. As you can see from the mixture, it has got that ground beef consistency, which is what we was hoping to achieve. Our next step in this recipe is to make the mashed potato, which tops the pie. So from the ingredients here, it recommends that a serving is 28 grams and it is to be mixed with 84 millilitres of water. I've doubled that just to cover the whole pie. So what I'm going to do, as we did with the cheese sauce in the last recipe, just gradually add the mashed potato and whisk. This will stop it from being lumpy and it will provide it with a nice, smooth, creamy texture, which is what we're hoping to achieve here. So I think that's perfect there. So what we're doing is spinning the mashed potato on top of the pie, making sure it's evenly spread. And once it's on there, smooth it out nice and gently to stop it from sinking. And once we have got it spread, we're just going to use a fork just to fluff the mashed potato up. Just give it that little bit of crispiness once it comes out of the oven. I'll just gently move the fork through. And then we're going to bake this for 20 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. We just want that mashed potato to go golden, so 20 minutes is perfect. So after 20 minutes we take our low protein sausage pie mix out of the oven. As you can see, it's nice and crispy on the top. This dish does serve 2 people, so you can always bulk it out with some extra vegetables on the side which are low in protein, such as carrots and parsnips. Our third and final recipe for this video is going to be a low protein beef chili using Promin's original burger mix and imitation rice. Our first stage of this recipe is to gently fry off the vegetables so that they become soft. Whilst the vegetables are cooking, we're going to prepare 1 pan of water, a litre, which is equivalent to 4 cups, and add 150 grams of imitation rice. Once the vegetables start to soften, we add 1 teaspoon of sugar and 1 teaspoon of garlic puree. I always add sugar to my tomato mixes because it just takes the bitterness of the tomatoes away. It gives it that nice sweet flavour. So next I'm going to be adding my spices. You can add any of your own spices to this mix, but today I'm specifically going to be using mild chili powder, paprika, cumin and coriander. Next stage is to add a small handful of fresh coriander. This really lifts the colours in this dish. As you can see, the green really accompanies the orange and the yellow onions really well. And once that's all stirred in evenly, we're going to add our beef stock cube, which is dissolved in 100 millilitres of water. And just allow our vegetables to simmer. So for this recipe, we're going to be adding 162 gram pouch of original burger mix to our vegetables. We're going to continuously stir this to get a ground meat consistency. That's the texture that we're trying to achieve. So typically this dish, if we use 1 pouch with the vegetables as well and the rice, it will serve 2 people. So it is important that we keep continuously stirring this. Keep a close eye on it so that the meat doesn't clog together. As I said earlier, we want that ground consistency. So we add 150 grams into 1 litre or 4 cups of water and allow to boil. We let that simmer away for around 5 to 6 minutes before we drain it. And to finish off our chilli, we're just going to add 1 tin chopped tomatoes. Specifically 1 tin is around 400 grams. Now we can just leave our chilli to sit there and marinade whilst we wait for our rice to finish cooking. So after 7 minutes, once the rice is cooked, we can start plating our chilies. As I said, that I've used today do serve 2 meals. So we start by laying in our rice. And then we're just going to finish a little bit of garnish, coriander on the top. And then we have a low protein chili con carne. And then we have 3 quick, easy meals using products from Promi Metabolics. Macaroni cheese made using a cheese sauce and macaroni pasta, sausage pie mix using original sausage mix and mashed potato, and a chili con carne using imitation rice and original burger mix. For more meals and recipes like these ones, you can follow Promi Metabolics on all social media platforms, where you can find links to their YouTube channel.
So, does anyone have any questions about the recipes? I know that we have folks here that are able to answer that question, even though we had a pre-recorded video.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Susan.
Not about that specific recipe, but about the promo pasta. Does the representatives here today have any suggestions for cooking the shells? I myself, and know some others who have tried cooking the shell pasta, and the inside will be hard and outside will be overdone.
I have experience using the pasta at a cooking demonstration at a camp, as well as in my own home. And what I like to do is I like to reduce the boil. So not a big Italian grandma rolling, bubbling boil. Take it down a notch, very much like I consider a gentle cycle. So reduce the boiling temperature. And I was just noticing that the pasta might say cooks in 9 to 11 minutes. When we reduce the boil, might be more like 13, 14 minutes. So if you reduce the boil, it does take a little bit longer, but that's how I find that it doesn't go from uncooked to past al dente real quick. So just reduce that boil, kind of whisper to it, gentle cycle to it, and then cook it a little bit longer. I find you're going to get a far better texture. So little bit medium rolling boil, not a big rolling boil, and a couple more minutes longer.
Thank you. I was very confused about how half of it was done and half of it was overdone, half was underdone. Thank you. I'll try that.
Yes.
Are there any questions in the chat? Okay. In the interest of time, if we don't have any other questions, Denise, are you okay wrapping up?
Yep, that sounds
Okay.
good.
All right, Donna and Jolinda, thank you so much. They're both from Zoe Pharma. Thank you so much for sharing the video and spending this evenings with us, as well as Bridget and Lynn from Ajinomoto Cambrook. Really appreciate it. I know you inspired me to actually get a little more creative with my low protein cooking for Jordan. I got a little lazy, so this is a good inspiration to get me moving on again. Thanks for all of you for joining us, and also to our sponsors, as I mentioned. And Denise said a couple times that this will be recorded and available on our website, and also the materials will be emailed to participants. And if no other questions or comments, then everybody have a good evening and happy holidays.